Hello and welcome to The Explainer. There's a huge shift happening in U.S. military strategy, and it's happening pretty quietly under the banner of America First. So today, we're going to dig in and ask the big question. Is this a much-needed change, or is it a massive gamble for the rest of the world? And it really all starts with this one single number, 50%. That's how much the U.S. Air Force's fleet of aircraft has shrunk since the Cold War ended. Just try to imagine that. It's like trying to police the exact same city, but with half the patrol cars you used to have. This isn't just some number on a spreadsheet. It's a real symptom of a military that's being asked to do way too much with way too little.
So how did we get to this point? Well, we're going to walk through the whole story. We'll start with how the military is stretched thin at home, which is leading to a smaller presence around the globe. Then we'll get into the America First idea that's driving all of this, see how allies are being told to step up, and finally look at the very uncertain world this new strategy is creating.
Okay, let's dive right in. Before we can even begin to understand the changes happening overseas, we first have to look at the problem right here at home, a military that is seriously struggling to keep up. Now, the math here is pretty simple, but what it means is staggering. Just look at 2025. The Air Force is planning to retire 250 planes, but only buy 91 new ones. And the next year, that gap gets even wider. This isn't just a little trim here and there. Some officials are actually calling this a capacity death spiral, and it's really the root cause of all the strain we're seeing. And to give you some perspective on that, experts say the Air Force needs to buy 72 new fighters every single year just to stop the fleet from getting any older. The current budget, it only asks for 45. This huge gap is exactly why we're seeing units like Maryland's 104th Fighter Squadron getting completely shut down. I mean, think about that. It's leaving an entire state without a National Guard flying unit for the first time. So what happens when you just can't afford to be everywhere all the time? Well, you've got to start making some tough choices. This strain at home is forcing a major pivot abroad. The U.S. is now deliberately shrinking its physical presence around the world. A perfect real-world example of this is happening in Syria as we speak. The U.S. is pulling its forces out of 7 different bases and putting them all into one single, more defensible base. This isn't some accident or a mistake. This is intentional policy. And this quote from the special envoy for Syria, it really gets right to the heart of their whole philosophy. They're not framing this as a retreat. No, they're framing it as a conscious decision to break from decades of what they see as failed, expensive, endless nation building. It's a crystal clear signal that they want to do things completely differently. Okay, so what's the big idea behind all these cuts and consolidations? Well, it all comes down to the central foreign policy idea of the Trump administration, America First. The new national defense strategy is really built on 4 key pillars. Number 1, first and foremost, defend the American homeland. Number 2, shift the military's main focus to countering China in the Indo-Pacific. Now, to make those 2 things happen, you need pillar 3, which is to cut back on costly deployments in other places. And all of that leads to the 4th and really crucial pillar, demand that your allies start paying more for their own defense. And that 4th pillar is such a critical piece of this puzzle. You see, this new strategy isn't just about the U.S. doing less. It's about pushing its allies to do much more. And you know what? In Asia, we're actually seeing this push get some results. Japan has pledged to hit that 2% of GDP defense spending goal early, and South Korea has committed to a massive 8.2% spending increase next year. This is exactly the kind of burden sharing that Washington has been wanting to see for years. And it's not just about spending more money either. The U.S. is also giving the green light for its partners to get more advanced military gear, like giving South Korea the okay to buy its own nuclear-powered submarines. The big idea here is to build up a whole network of stronger allies who can help deter threats in their own backyards. But here's the thing. Asking your friends to stand on their own 2 feet while you take a step back, well, that's a pretty risky move. This huge strategic shift is creating waves of uncertainty, especially for countries that have lived under America's security umbrella for decades. And here's the core of the problem. Unlike in Europe, where you have NATO, Asia doesn't have a big collective security pact. The United States has always been the one linchpin connecting allies like Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines. So as the U.S. signals that it's going to be more hands-off, those allies start to get pretty nervous. And that nervousness creates a vacuum that, let's be honest, China is more than happy to fill, trying to position itself as the new, more reliable partner in the region. This uncertainty is only made worse by problems happening back in the States. I mean, during the recent U.S. government shutdown, something really unbelievable happened. In Germany, the German government itself had to step in and pay the salaries of local people working on US bases. In Italy and Portugal, workers just went unpaid for weeks. Imagine you're an ally watching this happen. It sends a pretty powerful and worrying signal about American reliability. And this brings us to the central paradox, the core dilemma of this entire strategy. On one hand, the US is stepping back to force its allies to get stronger to counter China. But on the other hand, the very act of stepping back makes the US look unreliable, which could actually push those same allies closer to China. It's an incredibly delicate, really high-stakes balancing act. So, at the end of the day, we're left with this massive question. Is this quiet shift a brilliant strategic move, a necessary adjustment for a new world, or is it a dangerous retreat that's taking apart the very global order America helped build? The answer is, well, it's not clear yet, but it will absolutely define global security for decades to come. Thanks for digging into this with us.